this is a chance for you to, I don't know, participate. So if you have, I'm gonna stop here and do some calculations. Some basic lang naman. I'll do this and then you do the second one para. Sige. Stop share. I'm gonna stop share this and switch to my OneNote. There we go. Nakanda na ako. Just full screen sir. So are you guys seeing yung screen ko?
Yes po, sir.
You can see yung OneNote ko, no, right?
Yes po.
All right, good. So we'll test it out live. Do let me know kagad if it's laggy. I kind of tested out with my girlfriend. It kind of lags like 0.0. There's certain, X amount of time na medyo lag siya, pero just in seconds lang rin eh. All right, there we go. So, simple lang. You do this by, if you gotta do this step by step, you start with your given, of course, as simple as that. Pero as you progress, parang you can do it mentally na, no? Like, okay, I know I have 14.7. And what is this 14.7? Before, we just identify as pound, and then we have to add a subscript here na F para pound force siya. Kasi pound is just an English measurement for mass, pero we're talking about weight, so we call it pound force. We're talking about mass, we have what we call weight. We just call it weight. It's a force over inch squared. By the way, this one, it's called shortcut yan, PSI. So our goal here is to convert it to Our goal here is to convert it to kilonewton, 1 kilonewton per meter squared. And by the way, anyone can blurt it out. What's Newton per meter squared pala? Starts with P. Anyone?
Pascal po.
Very good. It's actually Pascal. And pag sinabing kilopascal, yeah, there we go. Pala ko naglalag yung system ko. Okay, good. So basically, we're gonna convert PSI to KPA. And bonus, if you guys know, sino pala yung sumagot kanina? Just be honest na lang. Were you? Sorry, I'm not seeing yung screen right now on the other side. So no, sige, simple lang naman yun. Okay, so the goal here naman sa dimension homogeneity, if you haven't get it is to basically just cancel out the units and try to arrive with kilonewton per, or try to arrive with the desired units of choice. In this case, it's kilonewton per meter squared. It's a good thing kasi I think may missing na conversion na hindi ko yata na copy, pero that's fine kasi we know naman yung inch to meters or inch to centimeters. So I'm just gonna add it here. So we're missing a conversion factor actually here. Anyway, kahit wala naman yun, you'll still be able to know naman yun. So started out 14.7. We layer it up by fractions, no? And then the goal is try eliminate it one by one. So we have yung conversion factor ng pound force to the newtons, which is quite easy. It's 4.448 newtons. Okay, so what do we do? Put here 1 pound into 4.448. Cancel that, cancel that. However, this is in newtons. So what we need is kilonewtons. So you would guess 1 kilonewton is 1,000 newtons. So cancel, cancel. All that's left is the inch squared. And we all know that in 1 inch is what? 0.0254 meters. I always know yung centimeters niya. So just divided by 10. So that will be 0.0254 meters. However, it's inch squared. So we got a square on both sides. 1 inch squared. And you got to square this guy. Anyone who got yung value? So going back to our blue. Anyone? So what is the converted factor? So this is canceled. Is the only time canceling really is accepted. Say you will end up with what? Kilonewton and meter squared. So multiply that, you end up with what, guys?
101.348 kilonewton per meter second.
So we're slightly off with the standard, pero let's go with 1 decimal point. So 101.3 kilonewton per meter squared, or simply 101.3 kPa. I'm gonna stop here and throw in some bonus question. And ito pala, may chat pala kayo, guys, sorry. That is kPa po. Yep, there we go. Jade Cruz, Cesar Cruz. Okay, quick question. What are these values? What is 101.3 and 14.7? If you've encountered this before, what are these guys? What are these numbers about? Anyone? Yes, but what exactly, Jude? Okay. Thank you. That's a quick Google search done, pero thank you. It's actually 1 atmosphere. Yes, it's basically, you will encounter this when the problem, or when you're being asked at standard atmosphere, and they won't give you these values, and they will give you other values. You know very well by heart that this guy's at metric system, that your set pressure is at atmosphere, or 101. What we use back in college is 101.325 kPa pag metric, and pag English it's 4.696 psi. The only reason is because I think someone answered 101.3, I think greater than 25 pa, diba? Because we're just using 14.7 and 101, 14.7 and a few decimal numbers. There's few decimal numbers off. So and ito yung ginagamit namin before, just to make sure to drop down yung uncertainty na yan. Okay? Standard atmospheric pressure, or pressure above sea level. So normally you would hear those words. So yeah, so yung bones done. Good job. I'm gonna switch here. All right, so for this one, try solving for this. And just type it in there. Just type it like parang ano yung units nyo, no? Right down. Okay, there we go. So this is yung next example naman dun eh. So for example, we're given the, okay, let me just go full screen again. So we're given the, let's go with this color. So we're given the acceleration of a particle, acceleration A of a particle, and it's related to its velocity and position coordinate x by time t, and represented by this equation. Can you see the equation? It's actually ax cubed. I'm sorry. It's supposed to be ax cubed. Let's do it this way na lang. Ax cubed and t squared. Yeah, basically ganyan yan. Okay. Where a and b are constants, and the dimensions are as follows. The a is meters per second squared. The v is meters per second. X will be in meters. T is in seconds. So derive the dimensions of a and b. And if the equation above is to be dimensionally homogeneous, so what are we to do? So we got the equation here. So dapat this one is equal dito. Obviously, when you plug in yung mga, when you plug it in, a and b dimensions are not provided. So I guess the goal here is what units of a and b to have, what will be the units of a and b, and for you to have an ending with m meters per second square per square meters. Okay, let's try chugging in some value. So let's just assume na may value ka na A. Let's do something different naman. I'll go with A. Yeah, I'll go with orange. Okay, let's go with A. And the unit is what? Meters per second squared. This is A. And then x cubed, no? So what is x cubed? So let's just plug it in. Wait lang. And x cubed is simply, meters per sec. Sorry, it's meters, no? And so m cubed. And times t is in seconds, so s plus v. Velocity is what? Meters per second, and you have t squared, so that's s squared, right? So what are the units ba ni A and B para ang n unit natin is ms squared. And remember, you can only add similar terms, So what will you multiply A? What will you multiply m cubed second with para maging meters per second squared? Same with B. So you've got to check out your units. Tayo natin ng konti. For to cancel out, excess meters na yan, you basically have to multiply it by, I think this is meter second, and then s cubed, I think. S cubed. Yeah, so yeah. Lagyan natin dyan. Let's keep yung orange. So what happens? This cancel out, magiging 2. This one cancel out, magiging m na lang. Next one is yung B naman. So B here, this is actually much more simpler kasi meters is already there. And cancel out this. You have 1s pa dito. So just add s cubed. And magiging meters per second squared lang siya. There you go. Ang final answer here is that the dimensions of A is 1 over meter squared s cubed. B here is just 1 over s cubed. Okay? Easy enough? Stop share. Go back screen. I have a question, guys. Can I share multiple screens? Like I can just toggle in between them or not? Na yung first problem graphically. How I did it is similar to what the instructions did. I have a pen. I have a space here. I have my ruler, and this ruler has a built-in protractor naman eh. So I know. So all I did was establish yung scale ko dito. So in this case, my scale is 1 cm and 10 kilometers. Then I'm provided with several given dito. So in this case, example number 3, a car travels 20 kilometers due north. So I'm guessing this is the car. 20 kilometers, so that's 2 cm. So I just graph it out. And then point B, then made 35 kilometers in direction of 60.08 degrees west of north, as shown in the figure down below. And we're being asked what is R's magnitude and direction. So graphically, you just plot that apply the tip to tail method. You measure A and you measure B. You measure pala ito. This is what you're after naman. So you just measure yung tip ng point A to the tail. Tail ng point A to the tip ng point B, and you will get roughly 48 kilometers And using yung protractor, you would get a beta of 39 degrees. But if you're not satisfied with that, we can actually solve this mathematically naman. Okay. You can join me if you want, no? So let's solve it mathematically, okay? So establish natin ulit yung given. We know na, let's just use lang several, that's my favorite dito. Let's just use lang, let's just use the black one muna. Yeah, there we go. So let's recall, we have A, which is 20 kilometers due north. That's it. At least there's no, that's it. So let's just plot muna. Let's plot A. And often what I do is, I plot it separately. Get yung dan. Let's just extend that a bit. And this time, we don't really care about yung scale naman dito since we're already given yun. Eh. So this is yung due north. And that is 20 kilometers. You'd see north lang, pero we do have an angle. And if you could guess it, it's actually 90 degrees. And all we have to do now for us to get yung R is to establish na yung components. Eh. So if we're gonna do it step by step, we have to, we have to plot first the givens and then identify the components. And then we go from there, the plug and play. And we're gonna use the equation naman. Later we're gonna be using this. R is equals to Rx plus Ry squared. And we know for a fact that the x components of R is also the summation of the components of the vectors A and V. Same with one. Just assume na naka-bold sila, guys. Okay? Tinatamad na ako magsulat ng arrow sa taas. Eh. So all we have to do na lang is identify these buggers. Okay ba yan? Okay, let's finish yung A. So we now know A is that. Let's go for AX. AX is based on Pythagorean theorem, trigonometry. A is basically cosine theta. And our angle here, this will be 20 cosine 90. And we know that cosine 90 degrees is what? 0, diba? So AX is simply 0. Now we're done with, wait lang, phantom. Umiinit lang. Okay. Now we're done with AX. Next is AY. AY is simply the Y component is I sine theta. That's 20 sine of 90. And we all know sine of 90 is what? 1. That's 20 kilometers. Take note, it's positive. Why? It lies on the y-axis. So either the y-axis above, first quadrant and second quadrant, it's still positive. That's good. Next. Wait lang. Let me just check lang in chat. Do you guys have questions ba? Just give me a thumbs up lang. Hindi ko kasi makita pag naka full screen yung OneNote eh. Still recording, ano? Paranoid na. Sige. Okay, now we go with B. Ibayin natin yung kulay. Let's go for purple. Now plot B. So D vector B, ang given sa atin is 35 kilometers, 60.08 degrees west of north. West of north. So essentially ganito. And then, okay, not to represent, actuality to 60.08 degrees north. And based on the naming convention, and this is 35 kilometers. Okay. For the sake of showing kung ginamit nyo is yung there are common traps dito eh. Often you would use ito kagad, di ba? Let's go this. You would use this. You will minus 60.08 by 90 and you will get what? 29.9 29.92, yeah, 29.92 degrees. And if you did that, you would notice something. Remember, nasa second quadrant tayo, quadrant number 2, where your x-axis is negative and your y component is positive. Okay, there we go. This is your bx, and this is your by. Let's use yung 29.92 and see and I'll show you what I mean. So if you're gonna use bx, the cosine of 29.92, you would yield. So this is what 35. Yeah, you would yield 30.335. Now let me ask you guys, and I really gonna ask you guys and gals, does that make sense? Does it make sense na positive to? No, exactly. I mean, thank you. Because it's supposed to be negative. So meaning, anong mali natin dito? Maybe we're using the wrong angles rin naman. We can't exactly use 60.08 kasi if you do that, it's gonna be reverse. Parang, nakatabingi eh. You can't exactly do that in a Cartesian plane. So what we do is, let's get the angle rin dito. So we added by 90. So yung total angle nito is, I believe, is 150.08. Okay, so just work with me here and you'll see. So what if ganon? So if you use naman yung 35 cosine of 150.08, guess what? If you solve for it, you would get, let me just get my calculator na rin para sabay tayo. 35 cosine 150.08. 35 times cosine of 150.08. Nabahan ako ng konti, nag-syntax error yung calcio ko eh. Honestly, pinagpapawisan ako nung nag-board exam eh. Syntax error. So, guess what? If you solve this, you would notice that it's negative 30.335 kilometers. Now, that actually makes sense. Kasi your x-axis falls under negative quadrant 2. Okay, so it's safe to say that we can actually use 150.8 rin dito. And guess what? Even if you use 29.92 for the by and use sine 150.08 sa by, sa y component niya, you would actually arrive with the same answer. So this is what, 35 sine, or just for the sake of showing lang, 22. And then here naman is 35 sine of, what's this, 150, 150.08. And you would get parehong 17.458. I think I just rounded off na lang to. This was 457 something. 17.458 kilometers. You get the same answer? There we go. Thanks. Thank you, Angelo. Okay. Okay, so what now? We already have your x. We already have your x and y component ng A. We already have your x and y component ng B. All we have to do is just plug and play this particular equation. Okay, so let's just use that again. And pwede natin actually diretso yun na eh. No, so solve for R, basically. We solve for R. No, so R component here is, again, okay, whereas where Rx is simply AX plus BX. What is AX, guys? 0. What is BX? Negative 0. Positive, negative 30.335 kilometers. Okay, so X mo dito is negative 30.335. Okay. RY mo naman is AY plus BY. And that is 20 plus 17.458. 17.458. And you'd get what? 37.458. Yeah, forgive my handwriting. Yeah, 37.458. So you use that now here, plug and play na. Type in your answer if you got it. Your answer should yield iba nating kulay. 48 actually, 48.2 kilometers. Which is not bad since I measured this literally and I got what? 48 kilometers. Oh, we're just off by 0.2. And the last part here is getting the angle. Okay, so bear with me here. This just call angle theta for the sake lang. So I'm not, hindi ko na pinapakailaman yung definitions ng yung symbols niya doon muna. But take note of the beta, okay? So still use blue. So to get yung angle, simply yung tangent inverse ng RY ng RX. But here's the thing, when you do that, you would get actually a negative 51.089 degrees. Why? Because using yung components ng RY, if you'd recall kung nasan to, nandito siya on this side. And we are using these values. So you got yung angle, pero angle for here. So for us to get yung, we can use that, but I think it's much more elegant just to use lang yung beta, no? Because if you use that, that will be 50, no need for the negative side, that's 51 degrees. That's 51 degrees towards, that's north of west, basically. But if I were to get yung beta, that will be 90 minus 51.009. Never minding yung signs dyan. It's just pointing out which direction yung turning niya. Okay, that would yield us what? 51.089. 38.91 degrees west of north. All right. Hope you got that. So let me just pause that for a while there. And let me see your chat. Why 0, man? I'm sorry, san tong 0 na to? Ito ba yung kanina pag dun sa yung sa A component? Yeah, AX, yeah.
AX.
Yeah, got it. Kinabahan ako ng konti sa inyo, guys. Okay. So again, if may negative or positive, at least for the angle, it doesn't mean say na negative yung angle nyo. It just points out paano yung ikot. In terms of angle, kung maalala nyo, if you recall, counterclockwise yung positive, yung normal convection, and clockwise yung clockwise yung, so, ayan, for example, may angle tayo pa ganyan. So 120 degrees, that's from here to here. So counterclockwise, normally positive. Pero if magagaling ka from here, that's kung clockwise, it's the opposite direction. Eh. So negative, hence why negative siya. So it's just more of a reference angle lang naman. Eh. That's unless that's how I understood it naman. Unless it's wrong, feel free to correct me then. Okay. And I think I got the same answer naman, same as the book. The book, however, the reference na ginamit ko, use a different application. So this is, you can solve it this way by breaking down its components. So you can see here, medyo napahaba ng konti. Or you're already given several, actually you're given all the values you need here. And you can actually use yung cosine law. Pero just like me back then, I rarely use that particular equation naman eh. You could check out, I can post the solution using yung cosine law later naman when I edit the video. Okay? So far no questions? Give me a thumbs up there if you're good to go. So we have 30 minutes pa. So far so good? Okay. Sige, let's try the next one naman. This one is a sample ng, I think this is one in your workbook rin naman eh. Didn't exactly explain why it used yung angle na yun dun eh. Or it was one of the first confusions ng klase, and I think my mistake there was not specifying yung rule behind using yung particular angle. So the secret there again is when you plot it up, you will see na yung components ng resultants na yun eh, where it lies. So you have an idea whether positive yung x component, again, yung x component and yung y component mo by plotting it up and identifying, oh, nasa quadrant 3 pala tayo, so parehas dapat yung negative. Oh, nasa quadrant 4 pala tayo, so dapat yung x-axis ko naman yung positive and yung y component ko is negative. So that will be your guiding force. Eh. At least it will also make sense if you're using the wrong angle when you're applying it rin naman. Eh. Bakit positive to eh? Nandito ako sa ganitong quadrant where it's supposed to be negative. Okay, remember to ask yung questions na ganun. Yun yung magiging guiding rule nyo. And just in case you don't, like I said earlier kanina, no? If you don't know yung law of cosines, like I don't really normally use this. When I first solved it, I solved it this way. When I saw the book, oh, ganito lang pala. And parang kalahati lang yung length ng solution niya. Okay, but that's okay. Step by step naman eh. Okay, let's try for this one. Okay. I have one more problem, not sure kung kakayanin, but if di tayo abot doon, it's actually a fun one. It's a combination of all the problems naman doon. The only difference is that you're already given the resultant. You're already given yung final vector ng all summation ng vectors doon, and you're being asked to find yung components ng vectors niya resulting to the resultant vector. So that's later. So let's focus on here. We have here we're being asked determine the magnitude and the direction ng vector C such that vector C is equal to the difference between vectors A and B. And A is 15 inches, 12 degrees north of west. So north of west, you have an idea now where it is. So it lies in the, before I proceed, where does it lie? Where does 15 inches, 12 degrees north of west lies pala? Which quadrant? Any idea, guys? You can just type it in. Maybe mabagal lang yung reception ko ng Zoom. Baka makita ko later. Sige. Sige, makikita ko mamaya. Ay, yan. Nakita ko na kaagad. Really does take time. May lag, So yeah, it's in quadrant 2. Thank you so much. So you know na yung x-axis mo is negative. Yung x component mo is negative. Then yung y component mo would be positive. Okay? And then what else? We got B, 23 inches, 24 degrees west of south. But that's quadrant 3, basically, But take note, this is B. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Angelica. Take note, this is B, okay? This is This is not the negative vector, okay? So I'll help you out. Start with, where's my draw? Where's my, there we go. Bayin natin, kulay ng konti. There we go. So let's just put out yung mga given natin muna. So we know yung total vector. Pakong kapala. Yeah, okay lang yan. The total vector C is equals to what? A vector. Ganun guys ah. Pumasok yung pusa ko eh. Yes, yes. Labas, labas, labas. Online classes problem. But recall kanina yung sa subtraction of vectors. You can also represent this in a different way. This is also equal to plus, and what we know of negative vectors is just that we have yung B here, the vector B, it's just pointing in the opposite direction, meaning it's not 24 degrees west of south. It's what? Okay, let's plot it out para makita natin. You could do the same para makita yung exercise. Let me see if parehas tayo ng answer. Just help you out rin dito. So let's plot B. Okay, pero this na lang natin. So we're here to identify yung magnitude, essentially magnitude ng C and where it's going. Tama? So let's start with, I'll use green naman ng konti. Let's start by plotting B. It's very crucial to know now. Okay, so what direction is the negative vector of B is? So plot it out here. We plot out the first one yung given. And we know for a fact that it's 23 inches, 24 degrees west of south. So ang reference niya is from the south, and that would be it. Get west here, get south here. But take note, this is B, not B negative, not the opposite vector. So we do that by pointing it out in the opposite direction. Now guess what? This is now your new vector, the negative vector, the opposite vector. This one is still what? This one is still 24 degrees. If you got it right. But we're now here north and south. This is now, east pala. So the new one is essentially the negative one here, yeah, is essentially still 23 inches, but in 24 degrees east of north. Grabe, ang kapal naman ito. Yeah. Okay. Just reduce lang to. Yeah, that's better. So 23 inches, 24 degrees east of north. Okay. So now we established that. We get yung we know for a fact that we need to get yung components eventually, So sometimes it's a lot easier if you can just plot it out lang naman, so that you can see yung relationship din naman eh. You can do it this way. The first one was a little bit messier, but you can still do it, step by step, component by component, or you can have it tabulated. Now you have your X component here, and let's go for light blue for A. Get A here. We already have your green, so we have B here. This is the negative, and last but not least, let's go for, I don't know what color is this, purple. C here. So we need yung CX, CY. We need yung BX and BY respectively. So let's solve for B muna since nandiyan naman na tayo. And let's plot yung A later. Okay? So for B here, For B, ito yun eh. So, hiwalay lang natin para at least alam natin siya. So, this is 24 degrees. This is 23 inches north, east. It does make sense that we use yung angle here. Since it's a first quadrant naman siya, we both know na our x and y component are gonna be positive. So nothing to worry there. So we just use yung complementary angle here, which is I think 66 degrees. And we begin solving for the opposite vector, which is essentially b cosine of theta, or just 23 inches. Same magnitude lang naman. Pansin nyo is 23 inches lang. So it just shows that it's just the opposite direction lang. Okay? But not the exact, not the value itself. It just shows in direction. And this one is cosine what? 66 degrees. You would yield 9.355 inches dito. If you get the by naman, that will be 23 cosine, sorry naman, sine 66 degrees. And you would yield 21.012 inch. So far, positive. Nasa quadrant 1 tayo. We're good to go. Okay. So, pwede na natin siya ilagay on the table. So, yung x dito will be 9.355. And dito naman is 21.012. Okay. Now for the A, let's plot A naman. That window, 24 degrees. Okay, there we go. Let's do it. So, my black. Okay, A is what? A is 15 inches, 12 degrees north of west. So it's in the second quadrant, right? Like we said earlier. Kind of like so. North of west, so this is the 12 degrees here. And this is the 15 inches. Okay, just like earlier, we know now for a fact it's in quadrant 2. Again, I understand medyo naging repetitive ako, but trust me, it's sometimes, this was my downfall in before when I was taking exams. I realized my dumb mistakes back then when I was in college. And I'd say rin yung mistakes ng mga peers ko back then. And you want to avoid, simple mistakes as much as possible rin naman is, whether you're doing board exam or doing some general calculations, So it's my job. Pagpasensya na ako, medyo naging repetitive ako. So again, this is a quadrant 2 tayo. And we know for a fact for quadrant 2, x component is negative, y component is positive. Okay? I'm just going to, again, for the sake of example, I'm going to show again if it makes sense or not. Should we use 12 degrees or should we use a different angle? Okay, so let's go for it. Just for, for the sake of showing lang naman rin, AY here, AX, let's just use 12 degrees. A cosine 12 degrees. And that would yield what? 15 cosine 12. Apparently, it's a positive 14.672, which now you have to ask yourself, does this make sense? We have a positive x component in a quadrant 2. That doesn't make sense. So meaning we're using the wrong angle here. We can't use yung complementary angle, but we can use yung this parang kasi 12 degrees is from the opposite direction, So we use it from west. Let's go for the east. We use this one. And this one is a 180 minus 12. This is 160. Oh, this is 168 degrees. Check that out. So that'll be 15 cosine of 168. You would have same but negative 14.672. Now that makes sense. And as you've guessed, whether you use sine sine 12 or sine 168, you would yield the same answer rin naman. Sine 12 here, this one sine 8. Both will yield 3.119 inch. Now, for the sake of solving a problem, I'm okay if makita ko nandun kayo and kalagitnaan naisulat nyo na yung wrong angle. I would still appreciate if you use you rewrote your equations on paper and then wrote the appropriate solution done. Here, I'm just showing to you whether you're solving and you see that it doesn't make sense. So you got to think and ask twice again. Okay, so this one is 3.19 inch. So that's our AY. Okay. It seems to me we now both have yung x and y components natin. So let's just write that down. We have yung ax as negative 14.672. Guys, I'm not seeing yung, if you have questions right now, I'm not seeing it kasi naka full screen lang ang notebook ako. So I'll be seeing it once I'm done answering this. And the y here is 3.119 inches. Then the rest is history. All we have to do is just plug and play. Okay, or you can do this by technically getting your resultant ng A and B, Kuha mo na yun eh. I just, made the whole way of trying to solve all this, but you can actually solve for C, for your magnitude you see. 50 inches, we get here, 24. 15 inches and 23 inches naman dito. But I'll still go with the usual route, solve for C, which is this one. And CX, just summation of X components. Let's just be clear na lang dito para at least malinaw. Yeah, wait lang. Ayusin nyo lang guys. Pumapangat na yung sulat ko. So, CX here is the summation of AX, BX. CY here is just AY, BY. Okay, CX, if you gotta compute it and plug it together, is negative 14.672 plus VX of 9 point. What's my B? 9.355. And you would have here negative 5.3. Sorry, mali. CXN. 5.317. Your X component, resultant C natin is negative. CY naman, that would be what? 3.119 inch plus 21.012. That will be what? 24.131 inch. And you square that up, plug it here, you will get what? 24.709 inch. And if you get to get yung direction, get yung tangent inverse lang naman, CY over CX. you'd be surprised you would get um, a negative value dito. But that's okay. At least you know very well that your y component is positive, your x component is negative. So it must lie on in between north and west. So you would actually get negative 77.574 degrees, depending on how you round it up. Okay. And again, it's just direction lang naman. We know it's just there. So that will be para makompleto yun. It's 24.709 inches, 77.574 degrees north of west. There. I hope you got it. I will be posting them on the video. Just gotta be editing lang yung videos later. We have one more problem actually, but I'm just gonna give this to you guys, and maybe we can solve this on our next session.